Namaste, Swagatam. Hari Om, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, but I'd like to share informally a couple of things. First of all, we are, by the blessings of the divine, we are a full house tonight. We are at maximum capacity. In fact, I was very pleased and delighted to find out we were at maximum capacity, and then found out that there was a whole second registration. So we are, going by those numbers, we are something like 150 people over capacity now. So I think that deserves a round of applause. We have arranged for an overflow space in this building. The entire event is being live streamed and pushed out actually on 3 different YouTube channels. So any guests that arrive or folks who didn't get a chance to register but would still like to partake will be directed to those overflow spaces. But I'm so happy that you all are here and you found your seat. So I wanted to let you know that. The other thing is, many of you will find at your seat a little blue booklet. Someone can hold that up. Okay, wonderful. That blue booklet, it gives you some information about the Office of Religious Life here at Princeton University. The Hindu Life program, which is hosting this event, is part of the Office of Religious Life, and we invite you to hold on to this. It's a great source of information about the kinds of things that we do. My contact is in there as well, and I would be really happy to hear from you and to have you connected to the Hindu Life program here. You're all welcome to be part of our larger Hindu Life program community. To that end, you may also have seen a couple of QR codes. Please use these QR codes to follow us on Instagram, on social media. We're trying to build up our very modest Instagram following, but please do connect with us on Instagram. And also, I am super excited that we just launched our very first official Hindu Life podcast. It's called May It Be So, Tatashtu. And there's a couple of episodes already up, and we're going to be adding to that. It's going to be in a weekly format per season. So the second QR code will take you, I believe, to Spotify, but you can also listen on Apple Podcasts or any other place that you listen to your podcasts. But we would love to have you tune in as well to the podcast. There's some more of these, so perhaps we can have, thank you, Nick. Okay, and with that, let me begin with a few formal remarks before turning it over to our illustrious speakers. First and foremost, good evening, and thank you so much for being a part of this amazing, amazing community. My name is Dr. Vineeth Chander, and I serve as one of the deans in the Office of Religious Life, the university's Hindu chaplain, and the director of the university's Hindu Life program. The Hindu Life program at Princeton, as some of you know, is the nation's first and longest running full-time university program dedicated to Hindu belief and practice. This evening, we are honored to host this special exploration of the relevance of spirituality in the modern world. No matter how hard we try to avoid it or distract ourselves from it, the undeniable reality is that the world today is far from the peaceful utopia that past generations may have dreamt it would be by the year 2025. Progress has advanced us in many ways, and yet we still find ourselves surrounded by warfare, strife, injustice, poverty, and what may amount to a full-blown ecological crisis. Senseless violence, terrorism, barbaric mass killings seem to have become the norm rather than the exception. Case in point, we are still reeling from the very recent news of a terrorist attack in Kashmir, in which tourists, and it appears from the little information that we have that Hindus in particular seem to have been targeted by the gunmen. And our hearts, prayers, and anguish go out to the victims and their families. And just as the world outside seems to be in turmoil, the world of our own minds can sometimes be just as tumultuous. Mental illness, emotional health struggles are soaring, especially among young adults. Our former Surgeon General has labeled us as being in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. And campuses like Princeton's are not immune to this trend. If anything, some may argue we're actually leading this trend. In the face of such a bleak picture that I'm painting, the Dharma traditions offer a rather radical proposal: spirituality. I'm reminded of a cartoon that I saw several years ago. It was a 2-panel comic. And in the first panel, an activist is yelling to a crowd of onlookers, "Don't just sit there, do something." And in the second panel, a Buddhist or Hindu monk is advising the now burnt out activist, "Don't just do something, sit there." But can spirituality offer us practical solutions? Can turning within have the power to affect real change? Can it help to bring about a more just and sustainable world and bring healing relief to our mental health crisis? These are the questions that we'd like to explore this evening, and we are guided tonight by not just one, but 2 eminent, illumined teachers of Sanatana Dharma wisdom. Swami Sarvapriyananda serves as the minister and spiritual leader of the Vedanta Society of New York, a role he has served in since January of 2017. He joined the Ramakrishna Matha in 1994 and received sannyas in 2004. He served as Acharya of the Monastic Probationers Training Center at the Belur Matha in India. He's also served in various capacities in different educational institutes of the Ramakrishna Mission in India as well as abroad. During the 2019-2020 academic year, he was appointed a fellow at the Harvard Divinity School. As many of you know already, no doubt, Swami Sarvapriyananda is one of the contemporary world's most well-known and sought-after speakers on Vedanta. His talks are extremely popular globally, particularly known for their tendency to go viral online. Some of these popular talks have been compiled into ebooks: Who Am I? What is Vedanta? And Dissolve into Infinity. Swamiji has been a speaker on various forums such as TEDx, SAND, and Google Talk, and at several leading universities across the world. Swamiji has engaged in dialogue with many eminent thinkers, from Deepak Chopra to Rupert Spira to David Chalmers and Sam Harris. He has also helped to organize or participate in many interfaith panels and seminars, including speaking at the World Parliament of Religions and at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. We are deeply honored to have him with us this evening. We are also joined tonight by Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati ji. Known affectionately the world over as Sadhviji, she is a renowned spiritual leader, motivational speaker, and author based in Rishikesh, India. In her #1 best-selling memoir, Hollywood to the Himalayas, A Journey of Healing and Transformation, Sadhviji recounts her inspiring journey from growing up in a Jewish American family in Los Angeles and pursuing a PhD at Stanford to finding her calling, her Swadharma, on the banks of the sacred Ganga River in the lap of the Himalayas as a Hindu monastic. For almost 3 decades, from her base at the renowned Paramarth Niketan ashram in Rishikesh, Sadhviji has been overseeing a variety of humanitarian and spiritual projects, teaching meditation, delivering lectures, writing, counseling individuals and families, and serving as a unique female voice of spiritual leadership throughout India and the world. As if that wasn't enough, in her spare time, as if she had any, she also happened to serve as the managing editor of an 11-volume encyclopedia of Hinduism. Sadhviji is no stranger to spiritual activism. She is the Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance, an international interfaith organization dedicated to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. She has served as president of the Divine Shakti Foundation that runs free schools and vocational training programs. She is the director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival at Paramarth Niketan and is co-president of Religions for Peace, as well as serving on the United Nations Advisory Council on Religion. She has been invited to share wisdom at some of the world's most high-level international conferences and summits, and has shared stages and platforms with luminaries including His Holiness the Dalai Lama, now King Charles of England, the UK, and heads of state in India, the UK, and around the world. Sadhviji has received numerous national and international awards and recognition for her work. And most recently, she was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by US President Joseph Biden for her lifelong commitment to volunteer service. We are so honored to have her with us as well. Now, Swamiji and Sadhviji have spent a little bit of time together in the past, but as far as I'm aware, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time that these two wonderful teachers have had the opportunity to co-convene and speak at an event like ours. Is that true? So, friends, we are all together. We are making history tonight. We're going to ask each of our illustrious speakers to share opening remarks on the topic, after which I will ask each of them a follow-up question based on their remarks. We will then open it up to a larger Q&A as time allows. Friends, would you now please join me in giving our dear special guest speakers and illustrious teachers, Swami Sarvapriyananda and Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, a very warm Princeton University welcome.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good evening. Sadhviji, Vineet, dear friends, it's a pleasure. It's so impressive to see all of you here and also in the overflow space. I think they are watching on a screen or something there. Yes, so namaste to all of you there also. I remember a few years ago I had an interesting experience. I was invited to a panel at the American Psychiatry Association. So they had a religion and psychiatrists panel. So I went there. It's called the APA. Now there are two APAs I discovered. One is the American Psychiatry Association, the other one is the American Psychology Association. And they have their headquarters close to each other in Washington, D.C., and they hate each other. Apparently, I didn't know this. So I went to the psychiatry, the correct APA, and it was a panel on one side of a long table with some of the most eminent psychiatrists in the country and some of the most powerful people in the APA, some of the leading psychiatrists from different medical institutions in the United States. On the other side were representatives of different religious organizations, mostly some churches. I was representing Hinduism, and there were some others also. And the subject was mental health crisis. I mean, it is a segue from where Vineet left off. Mental health crisis in the United States and in the world in general, which has become worse since the pandemic. And how can religion and psychiatry work together to help people? How can we combat this mental health crisis? So some of the church leaders asked, in general, psychiatrists have been very inimical to religion. In religion, spirituality was considered a kind of psychopathology. So it's a kind of, it's an illness in itself. Why would you use an illness to combat more illness? Then they said they have changed their view. Then somebody asked, so do you believe in religion or spirituality? And they said, no, we don't. But you cannot argue against the numbers. And they said that when you look at the data, all of it shows that those who have some deep connection to spirituality in their lives, who practice in some form, they are more resilient, They are more resistant to mental illness. If they do have mental illness, they are more resilient. They bounce back much more easily. They have more support from their communities. And therefore, we cannot ignore this anymore, that the presence of religion and spirituality, especially spirituality, they said, is a very positive factor which helps us in combating mental illness in this country and elsewhere. I noticed, now this is a little mean, but I'll say this outright here. Something, a little personal observation. I noticed something that on the other side of the table, all these eminent psychiatrists were sitting, and they're on the top of their careers. They are the heads of various institutions, departments, and big positions in the APA. All of them looked very unhappy. And I asked somebody, and this is natural, you're dealing with a lot of heartbreaking cases all your life, all day long, all your life. It takes its toll on you. You looked all uniformly unhappy. And on the other side of the table, there were Christian pastors, Jewish rabbis, there was a Buddhist, lay Buddhist preacher, monks. All of them looked generally happy. And I was thinking, why? What makes the difference? What are these resources which enable, across spiritual traditions, which enable you to live life meaningfully, face challenges, and derive strength in the midst of this storm of life, in the ups and downs of life, in the midst of troubles, not by denying trouble, not by escaping, not by wishing that there were no problems at all, but rather in the midst of all these problems, what are the resources? Vedanta says that these resources are within us. They're already here. Sri Ramakrishna used this parable of the diamond, the washerman's diamond. So a washerman, you have to imagine an Indian washerman. Those who are from India of an earlier generation, you will recall a dhobi. So he collects your dirty laundry and goes to near the riverbed and then cleans your laundry thoroughly, and you don't want to see what he does to your clothes, the way he slams them against the rocks. But he cleans them, and he scrubs them, and he lays it out. You will see on near Indian river sides, you'll find lots and lots of laundry laid out in the sun to dry. And he uses a rock to scrub this dirty laundry. But this poor washerman, he found a diamond. He didn't know what a diamond is, but he thought it's a strange rock. And he used it for the only use he knew for a rock, to scrub dirty laundry. And we all have this diamond. We all have this diamond, and we are using it all the time. We have the diamond, we are using it all the time to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, to enjoy, to suffer, to quarrel, to fight, to be miserable, and also to be spiritual. But more on that later. This washerman, he was a little puzzled. What is this rock? And he went to his friend, the vegetable seller, who didn't know much about diamonds, but he said, it's a pretty rock, I'll give you 10 rupees for it. Luckily, the washerman didn't sell it. He kept on asking people. Finally, he went to a diamond merchant who said, this is the largest diamond I've ever seen, uncut raw diamond I've ever seen. I'll give you 1,000,000 rupees for it. I mean, it's an Indian story, so 1 crore rupees for it. And the washerman sells it, and all his sorrows are over, his problems are solved, he is gone beyond poverty. That's the parable. That's the parable. There is a diamond. It's in your possession. And we are using it. It's not that we don't know about it. It's right there. We are using it. But we don't know what it is. If we knew what it is, it would solve all our problems, like that washerman's poverty was ended once forever. So in Vedanta, we turn to our own experience. What is that diamond? What is that diamond which we have all the time with us and which we need to get acquainted with? Vedanta introduces us to the diamond which is already in our possession. And that is the solution to all our problems. Swami Vivekananda, when he came to this country, he would introduce Vedanta in these words, listen, ye children of immortal bliss. That which I have to tell you, even the gods do not know about this. There is this infinite reality, and I have known this infinite reality. And if one knows this infinite reality, one goes beyond death. The English translation doesn't do justice to the Sanskrit original. Trinvantu vishve amritasya putra. One goes beyond death. One goes beyond human limitation, darkness, sorrow, suffering, goes beyond death, attains immortality. And there is no other way. That's also interesting. There is no other way except spirituality. Sri Ramakrishna would say, you can line up a series of zeros. No matter how many zeros you line up, the total value of that is still 0. But if you put a 1 before the zeros, then every 0 gets a value. 1 0 is 10, 2 zeros are 100, 3 zeros are 1,000, and so on. And that one is spirituality. I'll take us in a little, very quick, deep dive at the deep end of the pool, which is non-dual Vedanta, and then we will surface and take a look back. 10 minutes. One thing that we notice is that we are conscious. We are aware. And that seems to be mundane, very much like the washerman's diamond. You know, it's always there. Right now when we are seeing, we are all conscious. We are all aware. Nobody would deny that, you know, unless you're out of it, in which case. You wouldn't deny that you're conscious. Everybody would say we are conscious, we are aware. Whatever we see, we are aware. And when we are hearing, right now, we are aware, we are conscious. And now notice, seeing and hearing are two different kinds of experiences. And yet, the consciousness behind them both, illuminating both, is the same. This is a simple fact, but it often escapes our notice. We have a series of experiences in life. In Sanskrit, this is called anubhava, experiences. And life is just this collection of experiences which we have all day. When we fall asleep, we have experiences of dreaming. In deep sleep also, Vedanta would say that's also a kind of experience. Our life is a series of experiences. And in and through all of these experiences is the light of consciousness. Call it consciousness, awareness. Take it in a very naive first-person sense. In all that we see, in all that we hear, in all that we smell, taste, touch, throughout our sensory experiences, we have consciousness. We are aware, we are conscious. Not only our sensory perceptions, but in our actions too. When I'm talking, there is consciousness. I testify to it. We testify. When you are sitting, when you are walking, when you are running, when you are cooking, when you are working on a computer, in all our activities, there is consciousness. And it's the same consciousness which lights up our perceptions. And then we go deeper inside. Our inner world of thoughts, feelings, memories. When you're thinking, you are conscious, very much so. When you feel, it may be a good feeling, it may be a miserable feeling, happiness, depression, anger, irritation, joy, peace, all of them are lit up by consciousness. Consciousness is constant in perceptions, in actions, and in our inner world of thoughts and emotions. Even the intellect which we are using right now to understand this stuff, its consciousness is there. When I say I don't get it, what are you saying? You're aware. When you say I get it, what you are saying, you're aware. In all our waking, when we fall asleep, this world disappears from us. A dream world comes in. But in our dreams too, an entirely different experience. A different world projected in our mind. We don't know we are dreaming, but it's projected. But it's the same consciousness which continues. It's worth dwelling on this for a while. That this thing, this diamond which we have, and which we are using all the time, and we never paid any attention to it. We thought it's just a diamond for scrubbing dirty laundry, you know. It's consciousness, yeah, so what's the big deal? Notice for the first time the ubiquitous presence of consciousness. It is the light which lights up our lives. It is the light which makes our life possible, experience possible. Yes, good and bad. The miserable and the terrible, all of it is possible because of this light of consciousness. This one awareness in our waking, in our dreams, and Vedanta would claim indeed, counterintuitively, in our deep sleep also. When the world disappears, when our dreams disappear, sense of individual existence disappears, sensory activity ceases, actions have ceased, dreams have ceased, thoughts have ceased. Even the idea I am sleeping is not there. Vedanta would say that darkness too is revealed by consciousness. So this one consciousness, always there. Notice its features. It's constant. Our experiences are constantly changing, but the consciousness is there and it's constant. The objects of our experiences, the varieties of our experiences are different from each other. But consciousness is not only constantly there, it's ever the same. You might think, where is all this leading? Well, first of all, you must admit it's interesting. And it's about you. That's why I say Vedanta is most interesting. It's about our most favorite subject in the world, ourselves. It's an investigation into ourselves. And the next interesting thing is this consciousness, ever present, constantly so, never changing. The objects of experience change. The thoughts and feelings change. The quality of our experiences changes. But the awareness in itself, consciousness in itself, the claim is it does not change. And therefore, not changing, very important, it is not affected by experience. Swami, have a cup of coffee, you will feel more conscious. Vedanta would say that more conscious and less conscious, that's the mind. You feel more alert, less alert. The more alert mind is illumined by the same consciousness. The less alert and sleepy mind is illumined by the same consciousness. Consciousness is not affected, not modified, not traumatized, not damaged, not mutilated by our experiences, not jaded by our experiences. That which is at the heart of our existence is not troubled, affected, changed, aged, diseased, depressed by our body-mind experiences. Yes, the body ages, the body gets diseased. The mind goes through ups and downs. It's very delicate. Emotions come and go. The consciousness is one constant, unchanging light. And the claim would be this, there's a lot of philosophical heavy lifting going on here, the hard problem of consciousness, a la David Chalmers and all of that. The big claim is this consciousness, contrary to mainstream thinking, is not a product of the body. It's not a product of the brain. It may use the body and the brain, nervous system. Just to give a sense of the difference, we can take this up later in the question answers, sense of the difference between what we are talking about, consciousness in Vedanta, and consciousness as understood or not understood right now. This is the age of consciousness studies. It's a hot subject. If you Google it, hard problem of consciousness, and so on and so forth. I try to summarize it in 5 nots, 5 negations, 5 in 1880. What consciousness is not, taking us in a journey from our present mainstream general worldview of consciousness to the Vedantic idea of consciousness. 1, consciousness is not the brain. 2, consciousness is not an object. Everything is an object to consciousness, and consciousness itself is not an object. 3, consciousness is not the mind. The mind, the thoughts, feelings, they are also objects because you're aware of them. Anything you're aware of is an object. So the consciousness is not the mind. 4th, not many. We are many here. Many bodies, many minds, many persons. But the remarkable claim is we are one consciousness. Appearing to be many. In the Gita, Sri Krishna says, undivided in all beings, I appear as if divided. So we are at the base of everything. We are one reality, one existence, one being. So not many. And finally, the last one, quite stunning, non-dual, which means there is nothing other than consciousness. Whatever appears to consciousness is somehow consciousness itself. So 5 knots. Remember these 5 knots. Each of them, you can have an entire philosophy course at each level. Not brain. Consciousness is not brain. These are all claims. They're worth arguing over. Not brain. Not an object. Not mind. Not many. And non-dual. Just by the way, a little thing to ponder about. If you say non-dual, not two, that means there is nothing other than consciousness. All these things you just said, not brain, not object, not mind, not many, you are sort of reversing it. Do you see? Then what are those? What is the brain if it's not consciousness? Because you have just said there's nothing other than consciousness, not two. Then the brain must be in some sense related to and based, I mean, nothing other than consciousness. The objects too must be in some sense consciousness. The mind too must be in some sense consciousness. And what appears to be multiple consciousness must also obviously be that one same consciousness. So this is the Advaitic idea of consciousness. And the claim here is dramatic. We are already that. It's already there. You have the diamond. What Vedanta does is the diamond merchant introducing you to yourself. This is the deeper meaning of Sadhviji's book, Coming Home to Yourself. So it introduces you to yourself. Then all our poverty is removed. From that perspective, from that non-dual consciousness perspective, you are already immortal. You are already beyond the vicissitudes of life. You are beyond the ups and downs of the mind. You are even beyond birth and death. Already. And when you live life from that perspective, this is what is called a Jivan Mukta, living while free. This is, of course, supported by all the other spiritual disciplines. Swami Vivekananda spoke about what I just said is called Jnana Yoga, the way of knowledge, way of spiritual philosophical investigation. But this has to be supported. It's not as easy as I just made it out to be. It has to be supported by the other yogas, which is Karma Yoga, which is Dhyana or Raja Yoga, meditation, the way of service, the way of meditation, and Bhakti Yoga, the way of love or devotion. They are all, Vivekananda said, they are all paths of liberation and enlightenment and freedom in themselves. And it's even more powerful when you combine all four: knowledge, love, service, and meditation. Somebody said, can you summarize these yogas, 4 yogas? I'll end with this. Can you summarize these 4 yogas without the God talk? Can you make it as secular as possible? Not to my taste, but anyway, I can do that. Karma Yoga is selfless, not selfish. That is Karma Yoga. Raja Yoga, meditation, it is concentration, not distraction. And see in this day and age how important that is. Bhakti Yoga is love, not desire. And Jnana Yoga, the way of knowledge, is the knowledge of the self, not just knowledge of the other. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Puja Swamiji, Dr. Vinitji, all of you. What a blessing. What a joy to be here together this evening. And as I was listening to Swamiji speak, I forgot that I had to say anything. I was just so engrossed in listening to him speak. This topic, and as Vineet spoke about it in his introduction, is critical. We are suffering a mental health crisis. It's depression, it's anxiety, it's addiction, it's loneliness. And it's interesting because I live in India, in a place where there is suffering, but typically the suffering that we see is suffering on a logistic level. The rainy season is coming, the roof leaks, there is no money to fix the roof. I have children, there is no money to send them to school, or there is no school to send them to. My mother is sick. I I have no money to get her medicine. There is no doctor. There is no access to medicine. And there are critical issues. And there are issues, thankfully, that the government is working on, that all of our spiritual organizations work on. But there are issues that require collaborative effort, resources, infrastructure, engagement. When I come back to America, I see something that it breaks my heart and interests me, both simultaneously. And it is this level of suffering that requires no external resource, infrastructure, assistance. It's not due to a leaky roof in the rainy season. And I'm referring to our communities of people, not the homeless people on the street. Because as Swamiji said so beautifully, yeah, the heads of all of these institutions, and it's not only true in the American Psychiatric Association, it's true on the airplane we flew in today from the Bahamas, it's true in the airports, it's true as you pull into a parking space, it's true in the grocery stores, it's true in our schools, in our universities, in our homes. People are suffering. And we're suffering, though, from something that requires only a shift in how we think, a shift in how we understand. The suffering breaks my heart, but the ease with which, or rather the simplicity, it's not easy, but it is simple. The simplicity with which the suffering can be ended excites me. I was reading an article last time when I was here in America about a family, and the wife was a big Instagram influencer. They lived actually, I think, New York, Long Island. I mean, it was nearby. She was a big influencer, big home, and here I'm at this party today. Here I went clothes shopping at this store. Here I'm wearing this. Here I'm swimming in this pool. And had all kinds of followers of her fancy lifestyle. Here are my beautiful children. Here are what the children are wearing. Here's etc. The husband was in real estate. There would be also lots of family pictures, happy family. Here we are in front of our fancy car, our fancy house, our swimming pool. So they seem to be just like any well-to-do influencer type of family, except the reason it was this big article and the reason that it got sent to me and caught my eye and I read it is what happened was, it turned out the husband's real estate business was not actually going nearly as well as everybody thought. He was borrowing money, using the money that he was borrowing to pay off other loans, engaged in one of these very, very difficult financial situations, trying to sell off properties, not getting as much as he needed to get for them. And he was losing money, realized he was not going to be able to sustain the house they were in. He wasn't at a level of not being able to feed his family. It was just they were going to have to move from, a mansion to a condo and get rid of some of the cars. There was a family trip planned to Europe. At the last minute, he begged out, claiming some work, something or other. The wife and the kids go off to Europe. And while they're gone, he commits suicide. True story. And I share the story with you because if it were incomprehensible, it would still be interesting, but I wouldn't take up valuable time sharing it. The dilemma is it speaks to something that is epidemic. And it is this idea that my value here on earth, my sense of who I am, my identity, is rooted in the money I make, the car I drive, the house I have, and we each have our own thing. It's not that every one of us is necessarily attached to all of those. But most of us have at least one aspect of that. It could be our job, it could be a relationship, it could be our physical looks, that we identify very deeply with as this is who I am. This is the value of me as a human being here on planet Earth. And when that gets threatened, as by nature, the nature of nature, it will. The nature of nature is change, whether it is the stock market or your physical body or your relationships. You know, one of the things that people come and ask in satsang about a lot is, I'm so worried. I'm so worried that something's going to happen to my parents. My parents are going to get sick. My parents are going to die. And I always say, that's actually what you should pray for. Not that it happens tomorrow, but because the only alternative is that you die first. I mean, either you're going to lose your parents or your parents are going to lose you. There's no alternative. The nature of nature is change. And I think we could all agree that as devastating and difficult as it is to lose one's parents, nonetheless, we understand that this is how nature moves, and it's a lot less devastating than for parents to lose a child, which unequivocally is an unspeakable tragedy. So the nature of nature is change. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. We gain it, we lose it. If not today, if not tomorrow, next week, next year. But it's that attachment that keeps us stuck. I just arrived today back from the Bahamas, where I spent the last few days having a beautiful opportunity to share and to teach at a retreat center there. And it's right on the ocean. And as I was saying there, you know, it's so interesting because most of us look at the ocean from the outside. Ah, beautiful ocean. So many different colors. But if you put on a snorkel mask and you go just half an inch below the surface, a whole new world opens up. A world of life, a world of colors, a world of excitement. And then you go scuba diving. I've never been, but I have a lot of friends who do it, who every one of them swears that once you've scuba dived, snorkeling is nothing compared to scuba diving. As we look at the ocean from the outside, we seem very content to believe this is the ocean, this is the beauty of the ocean. We don't see a need to go deeper. In life, I've had a lot of people say, you know, I like the excitement of life. Like, why do I need to meditate? Why do I need to become spiritual? I don't want to lose the excitement of life. And what spirituality does, I liken it to the scuba diving. It doesn't take you out of the water. It actually makes it so much more beautiful, exciting, alive, vibrant, because you dive deep. So, in just a few minutes, let me give you just a couple. 1, 2, we'll see what I have time for in a few minutes. Teachings that for me in my life have made a huge difference of how that spiritual way of thinking, how you can shift basically from being on the unhappy side of the table to the happy side of the table. And although for me, yes, it came from moving physically from LA to India, from taking vows of monastic renunciation, I'm sure that Swamiji would agree, you don't have to become the monk, the nun, the lama, the priest in order to access this. And the first is what I refer to as the mindset shift from Hollywood to the Himalayas. Now, that is, as Vineet said, the title of my memoir, but I mention it here not because of the physical journey that I took, but because of that mindset shift from suffering to an end of suffering. The Hollywood way of thinking, which is not tragically only in Hollywood, it is now pervasive almost everywhere in the world, is that teaching that you are the body. The size, the shape, the color, the story, the bank account, etc. We suffer. We suffer a sense of lack, of not enoughness. We suffer jealousy. We suffer competition. We suffer lust. We suffer greed. We suffer anger. That which happened to us. We hold on to grudges. We suffer stress about what's going to happen to us, to our money, to our house, to our loved ones in the future. The Himalayan way of thinking means the spiritual way of thinking, wherever you are, says, as Puja Swamiji said so beautifully, you have a body, you are not the body. You are soul, you are consciousness, you are divinity. And it doesn't mean ignore the body. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna is unequivocally clear. Play your role to the very best of your ability, not haphazardly, to the very best of your ability, full attention, full intention, full engagement. But don't forget. Don't forget that you are the one playing the role, not the role itself. And if you think that that is impossible, people sometimes say, oh, no can do. Well, then think about the real Hollywood or Bollywood or Tollywood or whatever you follow, where every day actors and actresses play roles. In TV shows, in movies, on the theater or near Broadway, off Broadway. And they play so many roles, and then they walk off the stage. And you never, ever, ever hear a story of an actor who played a villain going home and killing his family because he forgot. Right, or killing the director or the producer or the cameraman or the guy, selling hot dogs in the corner because he forgot. Because it took him some time to remember. The minute the director says, cut, it's over. He never forgot. We play the role, but we remember. We remember who we are as that consciousness, as that which is untouched. We all have stories. We have reasons to be angry. We have reasons to hold grudges. We have reasons to be bitter. We have reasons to be depressed. When I was a psychology student, one of the things that always fascinated me was the reason behind the most evil, crazy beings. Why would Charles Manson say he did what he did? I mean, take those who we could all agree were absolutely crazy by whatever definition you would give. They never said I did what I did because I'm crazy. They always had a reason. They always had an answer. There was some way that their brain worked that made what they did make sense. In the same way, the depression we hold on to, the addiction we hold on to, the stories we hold on to, the anger we hold on to, it makes sense to us. But remember, just because it makes sense to you doesn't mean it's right. Think about those crazy mass murderers and what makes sense to them. and realize that just because your brain has figured out a way to explain it to you doesn't mean it's true. So we re-remember, we shift from that Hollywood way of thinking to the Himalayan way of thinking of doing the role. But set up throughout your day ways of remembering, kind of metaphoric cuts by the director. A moment of prayer before you eat or drink something, a moment before you turn the key in an ignition or check your inbox or whatever you do. Just a moment of remembering. Another one that is my favorite, and I'll probably end here, is most of us live, I think about it like a cup. So one of the questions that arises a lot when we struggle is, how do I deal with challenges? There's a lot of challenges, very real challenges we have in our life, in school, in work, in families, in political situations, in economic situations, in relationship. Nobody's here to minimize the challenges. But when we face challenges, my favorite way of not letting them take you over is to shift from thinking about yourself as a cup to becoming the ocean. And here's what I mean. Imagine that you have a cup of water and rocks fall into it. When the rocks fall in the cup, it causes turbulence in the water. And if it's a big enough rock, the water is even going to spill out over the cup. What most of us do is we try to keep the rocks away, prevent the challenges. But instead of that, if you dropped those same rocks in the ocean, they'd barely make a ripple. And the shift in our mind when challenges arise, instead of, oh my God, not this again. I hate this person, I hate this situation, oh God, remove this challenge. Instead, realize you're the ocean. Stop identifying as a cup. Realize that who you are is not so small, is not so fragile, is not so finitely defined by how you thought you needed things to be. An anchor in your oceanness. Again, soul, consciousness, however you think of it, one with the divine. And just lastly, in one line, for me, a huge shift has been a shift in asking ourselves, what for me to what through me? The what for me question kills us. Kills us. What's in it for me? I do so much. What am I going to get back? The 50-50 situation. Where's the give and take? It's not fair. It kills us. Instead, we speak in Sanskrit about nimit, being an instrument. Nimit matrambhav, that feeling of being an instrument. St. Francis of Assisi says, "O Lord, make me an instrument of your mercy, of your grace." And let that focus shift from what for me to what through me. How can I be an instrument? How can I be a channel? How can I be a vehicle, a vessel for peace? Otherwise, you end up with lots of people trying to bring peace who themselves are angry. We ask to be a channel. And in that channel, we become the first beneficiaries of that grace. But then we have a blessing to share.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. Swamiji, I'd like to put the question to you. Building on Sadhviji's imagery of re-remembering that we are not the small cup of water, but the vast ocean. One may say that's beautiful, even poetic, but how do I practically apply that? How, Swamiji, does Vedanta and the wisdom of our Sanatana Dharma tradition give us practical tools and means by which this realization of being the ocean can be enacted and can not just benefit ourselves, but as Sadhviji was saying, can ripple out and can allow us to be a force of good to others around us?
Yes, sometimes, when we talk about Vedanta and yoga, and people will say, oh, that's all very beautiful, tell us something practical, not realizing, to me, these are the most practical things possible. I remember this young man came to our monastery and became a monk, and he learned about Atman and Brahman and pure consciousness and the philosophies of Vedanta and Nyaya. He kept saying, good. He was from America. So he's saying, good, good. And one day, we were learning puja. And a part of the puja is the pranayama, the control of the breath. So you stop this nostril, breathe in through this one, and then hold the breath for this count and release to the other side, and then breathe in again. And this young man goes, wow, this is what I was here for. But yes, all throughout Hinduism, from top to bottom, or from bottom up to the top, it's all one spectrum. Rituals, pujas. One of our great Vedantic Swamis, Ashokanandaji in San Francisco, he said, ritual is concrete philosophy. What you study in Vedanta, what you study in your texts about pure consciousness, the self, and the puja that you do, they're the same thing actually. They are extensions of that thing into the physical. So yes, practical. First, the inner shift. I think for me, the two takeaways, unforgettable imagery, like you said, the cup and the ocean. And the ocean and the snorkeling and the scuba diving, I think we'll all remember that forever from now on. Thank you to Sadhviji. Yes. So practical, many, many things is to embody it. Therefore, if you come down to brass tacks, a routine is helpful. Some principles are helpful. Like, for example, Vivekananda says that unselfishness is more paying. It just takes some maturity to understand that. It's counterintuitive, right? That we think, I'll be happy if I work for I, me, myself. But over time, we begin to understand I'm actually happier working for others. I don't lose anything. I gain much more, and I'm much more at peace. Notice one thing. The one thing that you will never regret in your life, none of us ever will, is the least thing that we do for others. That we'll never regret till the end of our days. What we do for ourselves, we either forget or we regret. But what we do for others, we don't forget. Or we don't regret it at least, never. So unselfishness it's very practical. The more we begin to serve. So instead of thinking, what's in it for me, what can I do for you? That's my attitude. A daily routine is very helpful. If you have time for regular study, time for regular meditation, time for some service where you're not getting anything back from others, time for a little ritual, time for a devotional practice. So all of these are routine with the components of service, meditation, devotion, and in self-inquiry. This is a very practical thing, I think.
So Sadhviji, if we can continue on that thread, I was very struck by as you said, simple is not necessarily easy, the simplicity and yet profundity and depth of Swamiji's breaking down these 4 yogas. I also have an aversion to overly secular descriptions, but this one I liked. But the breaking down the 4 yogas into this these shifts from selfishness to selflessness, from distraction to concentration, from desire to love, and from the
other knowledge
to knowledge of the self, to the external, from the external to the internal. Would you please help us in a similar vein flush those out, and how have those, if I can ask a bit of a personal question, how have you experienced those in your own sadhana and your own spiritual practice?
Yeah, I feel like what Swamiji said was so clear and so easy to take in, understand, and then implement. I'm happy to share how I've experienced these, because when I came to India at 25 with a backpack, I knew nothing about Sanatan Dharma at all, zero. In fact, just to emphasize how true that really is, when I first met my guru, Puja Swami Sarvapriyananda Ji Maharaj, he was sitting where he would give darshan underneath a painting of Bhagwan Krishna. And it was a beautiful painting of Bhagwan Krishna, and Krishna's hair is flowing, and he's in his traditional pose on one leg with his flute, and beneath it, Puja Swamiji sitting, and he has long hair, and it's flowing, and he has a beard. And I thought it was a painting of him prior to the beard. And it was quite some time before I finally said to him something about the painting that someone had done of him. And he was quite confused until he realized I was quite confused. In any case, the point being that I came to India. I studied Iyengar Yoga. I did Hatha Yoga. It was that which I did as a student to deal with lugging around in the pre-iPad, pre-laptop days, lugging around a bag full of books and notebooks and my back and my neck and etc. When I come to India and I learned that yoga is actually all of this, it gave me the tools to get back to the experience that was gifted to me when I first stood on the banks of Ganga and had this incredibly powerful experience of transformation. And what I would say in brief is, it doesn't matter where you start. Inevitably, for some of us, one of those paths will feel the easiest. Some people are just, they're devotees. They love God. They cry when they listen to kirtan being chanted, and it's beautiful. And other people by nature are the ones in seva, and other people by nature are the ones deeply inquiring. And others are the ones who take very quickly to a path of meditation, a path of yoga. Don't worry, start anywhere. It's going to take you to all of them. They overlap. They're different doorways into the river. I live on the banks of Ganga, and we always say, it doesn't matter how you get in. It doesn't matter. You get in down the steps at our ashram, you get in over here, you get in over here. It doesn't matter, just get in. Whichever of those feels the easiest to you, that you are most inclined to, because the point is, you've got to do it. If it sits on your to-do list without ever getting checked off every day, it's not doing you any good. It's like me carrying around vitamins in my purse and forgetting to take them. It doesn't actually serve you. The presence of them in my purse is of zero use to me. The idea that I'm going to begin my spiritual practice is not of zero use, but it's not nearly as useful as actually starting it. So start wherever you can, that you will, as Swamiji said, make time in a routine, that you'll carve out time for it. And then go into it fully and recognize how through each path doorways open into the streams of the other.
Thank you so much. Let's give one more round of applause for both of our wonderful teachers. Friends, we have just a little bit of time, but we want to turn things over to you all and find out what questions and thoughts you have. We want to give preference to questions over comments, of course, because this is a very precious opportunity and we're a large group. So we want to ask for questions. We want to ask, please keep your questions as concise as possible. And please forgive me, but we also want to give a little bit of preference maybe to our university students, undergraduates and grad students, if they're still with us here. So I'm going to give a microphone over to my dear friend, one of our graduate students, Barth, and Barth will run a microphone over to you. So let's get a few hands and we'll see if we can get
Someone here.
Barth to get the microphone over to you.
This is a student here also. You can later on. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Maybe let's start down here, actually. Sorry, Barth needs to get his steps in, so we have to keep him busy.
Thank you so much for that beautiful, beautiful insights. I'm curious, as you're walking the spiritual path, a lot of times it's a solo journey. Have there ever been times when you felt that like you're the only one on this path, and how do you like deal with that and evoke that strength?
You go first. Not so much ever since I became a monk, because it's obviously a monastery and there's always a community of other practitioners. Even though I'm right now where I am in the Vedanta Society of New York, I'm the only monk, but then there's always a community of people around you who are spiritual seekers, spiritual practitioners. But you're right. When I was a student, I was always interested, even since my childhood. And then it did feel lonely because not many other kids, my friends, not many of them were interested. I was a little shy and a little bit introverted, so I would keep it to myself. I think that helps too. Otherwise, you get scrutinized or made fun of by others. Doesn't matter. It is beneficial for me. I love it, and I'm not going to do without it. So stick to it. Yes. Find others who are of similar temperament. Nowadays, it's easier with all the online stuff going on, so you can connect with others.
Oh, thank you for the great talk. I wish I could just sit with you all and chat for hours, but it's a small question. So you said that love is not desire. So what is love? I'm always very confused. What is love to you?
Yes, I was trying to summarize Bhakti Yoga without talking about God. So it's a difficult challenge. Bhakti Yoga is love for God. But the insight is crucial. Swami Vivekananda says, he defines bhakti, he says when you take 100 or 1,000 different desires flowing out into the world, you take it and focus it into one almighty love for God. Then it becomes bhakti. Yeah. So that's what I meant by love, not desire. Often desire is very self-centered in the sense that what's in it for me? It's for my pleasure, for my gratification, and that's how desire functions. But love, to be genuine love, it must be other-centered. And that other, if it's the divine other, then it becomes bhakti. If it's the human other, it's still love, but it's always complicated by human factors. The person you love, it's mostly our own construct, the person you're loving. And that person is also changing all the time. So you can love the human, but through the divine. So I've seen what spiritual seekers, great sadhakas, sadhikas, what they do is, they love everybody. If you, in fact, go close to them, you always feel that love. That's one characteristic of a spiritual person. But that love is very interesting. Love is always personal, but when you come to such a person, you feel that the love is also impersonal. It doesn't matter who you are. You may not have even met that person earlier, but you feel immediately included. You feel at ease with that person. You feel as if he or she is one of your own. That's because of that love directed to the divine. I'll let you into a secret. When you meet a truly holy person, and you feel that person loves me so much, don't be deceived. It doesn't love you. that person loves God in you. And that God in you is actually the real you. So in one sense, that person loves the deeper, the real you. I don't know if that makes sense. You just have to meet such people and spend time in their company. You'll understand immediately. Yeah.
It's before we go on to another question, I just very quickly wanted to mention that you can also aim, even if your aim is not to become necessarily that incredibly holy being that Swamiji is talking about, aim to love like that. It will take care of your attachment, your jealousy, your expectation, your frustration, your fear. If all you love is their physical form, what it does, what it looks like, what words come out of its mouth, it's essentially lust. Lust isn't only sexual. If what you love is their essence, that's the aim. And it's really love, and then it is loving the divine. Their body keeps changing, their personality keeps changing, their moods keep changing, good mood, bad mood, angry mood, sleeping mood. They look good, they don't look good. If your love is consistent throughout the years, throughout the moods, recognize that you've been given a beautiful opportunity to actually love the divine through that being, which for a lot of people is a much more accessible way of loving God than thinking about loving God as Krishna or Ram or Christ or however we may think of loving God. So take it on as a bit of a personal practice. As you love people, just make sure that you can love their body too. You can love their personality too. But make sure that you're really loving that which doesn't change in them.
Hi, I'm in the back over here. So I came in right when Sadhviji was talking about this ocean analogy with snorkeling and scuba diving. I think I've heard kind of similar analogies to this in the past, and I've recently started picking up on meditative practice myself. A question for both of you is, what does that feel like? What can I expect to feel? Because I'm not sure if I am breaking through the surface when I try to meditate.
Go first, yeah. Do the practice without expectations. Not because you won't get it. You'll get there. But expectations generally tend to ruin our practice, in a sense, disturb us in our practice. You will feel, first of all, an expansion. You will feel peace, a peace that is not subject to external conditions, you know, how other people are treating you, how your personal health is, or how the circumstances, you know, financial or political circumstances, whatever. So your peace is not affected so much by external circumstances. It's not an all or nothing thing. It comes slowly. It is not that one day you are restless and next day you are zen, you know. No, it will come slowly. So an expansion. I'm not just this little being. I'm much bigger than this. My peace does not depend on you or him or her. It does not depend even on the health of this body. It does not depend on finances. So that's another thing. Another thing is you feel much more relaxed. You feel much more at ease. It's very interesting that monks I have seen who have technically given up the world. They've turned their back on the world. But they seem to be much more at ease in the world than other people are. So there's a saying in Sanskrit, Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam, which is my home. My home is the three words. The entire world is my home. And it's really true. There are such people who are at ease anywhere. A monk came visiting from India to our ashram. And somebody, a volunteer in the ashram, asked him, Swami, where is your ashram? And he said, why? This is my ashram. Here. What's the best place you are ever in? This place. Who are the best people you've ever met? These people. What's the happiest time of your life? Now. So you're extremely at ease wherever you are, whomever you are with. These are some of the deep changes you find as your meditation practice matures. But don't expect it. Don't worry. These are manifestations of something you have already got, the diamond which is your own real self. Whether it manifests or it does not manifest, you have the diamond. You are that diamond. So you can relax. Start by relaxing. Yeah. There are two ways of being enlightened. Work your way from here to enlightenment. It's a hard and difficult road. That's one way. And we all start there. Or you can always think of yourself as already enlightened. Careful, it's dangerous. But in this circumstance, in this, how would an enlightened being behave? So I'm sitting and meditating. This is how I meditate. How would Vivekananda sit? How would Vivekananda's mind or the Buddha's mind, what would the Buddha's mind be like? What would Buddha's emotions be like? So sort of download it into yourself. That also works. What? It was for both of us, so she wants something.
I really don't have anything to add. That was such a beautiful description of what it feels like and exactly what the challenges can be as you try to go in. One of the things that I frequently say is, the end of your got there stage of meditation is when the mind goes, oh, I'm here. That's the moment you're no longer there. So certainly think about your meditation, but not while you're meditating. Don't go in, as he said, expecting, but also don't be judging along the way, because all that's doing is pulling you back into the semantic mind, which is not where you want to be.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
Me? Okay, Pranam Swamiji. First of all, thank you so much for your wonderful talks. I listen to them daily. It's awesome. Coming to the question, it's a two-part question. First part is, when I try to understand all these talks and try to implement them, I see that I go through a journey, I listen to them daily, I try to meditate, but at some point, there is a cutoff, there is a break, the daily life pulls me in, I'm drawn towards it, and I'm not able to continue my journey with the same vigor which I used to start with. So it's like a deeper problem maybe you can help me with. That's the first part. And the second part is it's in the mindset. So I was very, very excited about everything in life. And ever since I took like the Matrix blue pill, where I understood, not realized, but I understood that, okay, this all is not real. The reality is very deep. It's something that is within me or that is me. Everything seemed okay. If, for example, I go to a vacation, things doesn't work out, I'm absolutely fine. If it works out great, I'm absolutely fine. And if there's some problem at home, I'm absolutely fine. It's not that it's fine. So almost I get a feeling that other people are starting to feel that I've stopped caring. So that's a problem there. And then other thing is, in terms of ambition, yeah, if I get a raise, well and good. If I don't get, I'm absolutely fine. So I don't know if that's a good mindset to lead my life with, or should I come back to an excitement stage in a different way where I can live a more fulfilling life going forward, knowing that everything is Brahman kind of philosophy. So that's me.
Yes. Answering the second part of it first. Actually, the two questions are related. How do I spiritualize my whole life and my attitude to life? Is it all right not to care so much, not to be upset? Is it all right to be calm in the midst of ups and downs? Perfectly, perfectly. However, is it all right to feel, am I feeling depressed? Am I feeling no enthusiasm for life? That's not a good sign. In Vedanta, there is tamas, rajas, and sattva. So lack of enthusiasm, lack of energy, lack of motivation is a kind of tamasic state of the mind. A spiritual, one good way of answering your question is to look at people you consider to be truly spiritual. You know, someone like Vivekananda or whoever you admire spiritually. Do they seem bored or, you know, I don't care about anything? Never. I'm enlightened, so it's so boring now. No. Never, never. In fact, I remember this person, a very great spiritual teacher. He was asked about his, you know, he was always smiling and happy. What's your attitude to life? He said in the morning, you know what is the chappal, the sandals? So in the morning, when I get up, I see my sandals walking out of the room. I jump on them, and then and all day long, they take me for a ride around the life. Imagine the delight of that person, a childlike delight, but not really dependent on anything external. It's a joy coming from within. Now, practically, am I okay in life until I get to that stage, you know? Right now, where I am I okay in life if I don't seem to care too much? Two things, checkpoint. Am I able to do my work? And am I able to relate, to love or relate to other people? This is from Freud, of all people. He was asked, what is normalcy? What's a normal person? He said, very simple, the ability to work and the ability to love. If I can do my work, and if I can relate normally with other people, then it's all right. You need not overthink it. Pursue your spiritual path. Spiritualize the day. Have a regular spiritual practice, which you will do every day. A mantra japa is a wonderful thing to do, which you can do during your meditation, also during the day. It's a wonderful spiritual practice. And think of spiritualizing a daily act. All that we do can be done as a worship of God. Your work, your exercise, your cooking, your gardening, you're taking care of the family, of the community, everything can be done as a worship of the Lord. The divine is present right now, right here, in our waking, in our dreams, in our deep sleep, in our life, and in our death. So it's always present and can always be worshipped. So spiritualization of life, daily life, mentally doing the things as a worship of God. Don't change your Facebook status. Now I'm worshipping all of you now. Don't. But internally, that's a wonderful view to have. That when I'm meeting these people, I'm meeting God. When I'm doing this work I'm doing puja actually. That will make all life a puja.
Yeah.
Namaskar. Before we take your question, just one small addition regarding a point you made in the very beginning. Swamiji referred to Freud, and I wanted to just take a moment to look at a possibility of something that you spoke about when you said you're deeply on this path, and then it seems like you lose that zest. Now, some of it may be just run-of-the-mill human nature, run-of-the-mill laziness, run-of-the-mill difficulty in maintaining a habit of spiritual practice. But it also may be something that I find more interesting. There is a self-sabotage on the spiritual path that a lot of people go through. I know that I have gone through it as well, in which you get deeper and deeper. It becomes more and more a part of who you are. You watch your internal self start to blossom, change, expand, deepen. And then the mind says, I haven't been getting enough sleep lately. I think I need to sleep in tomorrow morning. The alarm goes off, you hit the snooze button, or you get up but decide to just check one quick thing on your phone before you sit for meditation, and that one quick thing, 45 minutes later, now, well, you better get up and get showered because you've got to start the day. And I would look deeply if you see that this happens as a pattern, there are aspects of us, and there isn't time to go into the deeper psychological or spiritual aspects of it, but just recognize there are parts of us, aspects of our mind, of our psyche, that are not actually really interested in us having these deep, expansive, powerful transformations that actually have an agenda in keeping us the way we were, in keeping us stuck. It can be internal, it can be relational. There's also relational aspects. There's a lot of things that play in to a self-sabotage. And I would encourage you to just take a moment whenever that happens and to look into why. First, do your best to just keep to it. Kuch bhi ho jaye, I'm going to get up. I'm going to put the alarm on the other side of the room. Have to get out of bed to turn it off. I will not have breakfast unless I have done my meditation. Whatever you need to do. But if you find that even despite all of these carrots or sticks, nonetheless there is an energy inside that somehow wants to stop you from that, you might find it a very spiritually and psychologically interesting path of self-inquiry. To look at that and heal that and clear that.
Namaskar. I like the parable of diamond, and I also understood that as per Vedanta, goal is to find diamond, or in other words, Aham Brahmasmi. All jivas, from ant to elephant, are all pervaded by same consciousness. Is their goal, that is all ants are elephant, do they have the same aim of Aham Brahmasmi? If not, what is their aim? Clearly, these jivas must be having some goal because they existed for billions of years before human, who appeared on the earth just 2 billion years ago, just a blink of history in life. The goal cannot appear just suddenly when human appeared. That's my question.
It's a good question. And look at the language we use. What is the goal of an ant? What is the goal of an elephant? What is the goal of a human being? But when we look at Vedanta, the way we are talking about it, when it is consciousness with a human mind and a body, it is the same consciousness with an ant's body and an ant's mind, or an elephant's body and the mind in that elephant. In fact, the minds in all these bodies are also in the same Jivatman going through multiple, hardware is different, but the inner apps and the programming might be the same. So, consciousness, mind, physical body. The aim belongs to consciousness in association with the subtle body, that is the mind aspect of it. And that aim precedes not only the evolution of human beings or animals, not even the creation, even before the creation of this solar system, of the stars and planets. It is in the very nature of this universe. Or rather, even the universe is a manifestation of that underlying deep nature. And the deep nature is pure consciousness or Atman or Brahman. And the goal of that is also itself, that Aham Brahmasmi. At our human level, today we are speaking about it in Vedantic terms and saying Aham Brahmasmi. I was reading Aldous Huxley, Perennial Philosophy. In one place he says, this highest conception of spirituality, the realization of one's absolute nature, I am that, Tattvamasi. He says, I do not agree that it was the development of thousands of years of philosophy, then coming at the end of the Vedic period in the Upanishads. It's there, very powerful in the Upanishads and the Advaitic, the Vedantic philosophy afterwards. But he says, it is my firm belief that human beings everywhere, even in prehistoric times, there must have been some enlightened beings. It is the common possession of all humanity. And it's not just humanity. It's not just animal forms or plant forms, not even just living forms. All existence shares this common identity that Brahman is manifesting as all of this. Yes.
Sadhviji. Sadhviji, would you like to?
I was just saying, I know Swamiji has an 8:30 hard stop, so I was just saying, I think.
Yes, I need to. Is it all right if we?
Yes. So once again, let's show our appreciation for our speakers. And I'd also like to remind everyone here of Swamiji's wonderful instruction, Sadhviji's wonderful instruction to aim for that kind of love. We're actually loving the divine. So I want you to all look at me and send me that love. Because I am the bad guy that is shutting this down, and I know some of you had your hands up. So please don't leave this room hating me. Leave this room at least aiming that love towards me, because I need all your love and blessings.
Not just here. We have to wait for the next. I just.
No.
So, Swamiji, if you could just, I know we're past your hard stop time, but we just want to show our appreciation, and we want to officially, induct Swamiji and Sadhviji into our extended Princeton family, and luckily they're already wearing the colors. So, especially for the New York winters, which can get pretty cold, and the Rishikesh winters, which can also get pretty cold, we have a little gift for you. So yes, Swamiji does have another commitment, actually, and we're so grateful that even in the midst of such a packed schedule, he has made time to join us today. So again, showing our love and appreciation, and we're also going to allow him to get to his next destination, so please, if you would be so kind. We also are celebrating the release of Sadhviji's new hot-off-the-press book, so let's have a big round of applause. I know many of us had an opportunity to grab a copy, or you've already brought your copy, and Sadhviji has agreed so graciously to stay with us a little bit longer, and if you'd like to sign the book. So if you do have the book, you can come forward, and we will try to organize a system for her to sign the books.